Neal Isaacs, the Raleigh business broker, coming to you for more content about doing deals. This content is specific to business brokers, people that want to be business brokers. I do a lot of content with the IBBA and their Becoming a Business Broker series. This could be for business owners who want to sell their business themselves or even business buyers. But the topic I want to cover today is what I call touching buyers. You could call this buyer screening. But what happens when we bring a business online and then we have people raise their hand and say, I want to know what this business is. Maybe I want to buy it. How do we treat them? How do we get them through the process? How do we handle confidentiality? I'll share a little bit about our process and some considerations if you're maybe starting your own practice or if you're trying to sell your own business. Basically, it's all about confidentiality and when to share what with who. So the first thing I'll share is, a strong listing, a strong business that we take for sale. And I prefer to call them engagements. We'll have 50, maybe 100 business buyers. When we bring laundromats to sale, it's not unusual for us to see 200 hands go up. Tell me where it is. Tell me everything about it. I want to buy it now. And it's just this onslaught of buyer interest. There's less interest in other categories, but I'd say the average, a good one should have 50 plus. For each of those, all they know is, I'll stick with laundromat. All they know is it's laundromat for sale, triangle market, top line sales are this. They don't know where it is. They don't know a lot of detail, but they want to know it all. So first thing we do is we have a non-disclosure agreement. So everybody automatically gets hit with an NDA. We use technology for that. I would strongly encourage, if you're a new business intermediary, that you use technology. You do not want to be sending out a document for people to print, sign, scan, and return. That's the old way of doing things. It's not efficient. But our system that one we use deal relations, which I'm a huge fan of. Talk to me about deal relations if you want to learn more about that. And there's other good systems that will do this. It'll hit them like 3 times. Hey, sign your NDA. Hey, how come you didn't sign your NDA? It'll hit them 3 times automatically. We don't do anything. Now, we are calling them. We call them immediately. I get text messages, and when they get that call, and I say, this is Neal. Thanks for inquiring about this laundromat. Call and explain our process, and thank you for inquiring about a business. They're very surprised. What they normally say is, oh my gosh, you're a real person. I can't believe you called. I've inquired about 1 million businesses. No one's ever called me. I'm trying to raise the bar for business brokers, and there are some less responsive business intermediaries out there. So I'm aware that it's common for business buyers to be surprised to hear from a broker. But we like to talk to buyers. In our process, again, we hit them 3 times, up to 3 times. Sometimes they sign the NDA right away. We don't have to ask them to sign the NDA. But when I'm calling that first time, I'm introducing myself. I'm introducing our process. I'm explaining what an NDA is. Do you know what an NDA is? It's a non-disclosure agreement. It enables me to share details of the business with you. I'm really just trying to get them to understand why I need them to sign that. I want to share this business report with you. I want to give you the details that you're asking for. Do you understand that there's employees working here? It's a confidential sale. I'm asking you to keep it a secret. So I want to get past that first barrier of, why do I have to sign an NDA? Will you just tell me the name of it and where it is, and I'm going to go over there and start measuring the drapes? That's in the buyer's mind. That's how they think it should go. So I want to educate them on the process. So we get past the NDA. The majority of our buyers will sign the NDA. The ones that don't, they're done. They never find out which the business is. The ones that do sign the NDA, so follow these numbers, right? 50 buyers, up to 3x of calls for them, 3 emails and 3 calls. So we high touch, high buyer touch. That's 300 touches already. If they get the 3 emails, by the way, the last email says, sounds like you're not interested in this business. Try again. And the third call sounds like that too. It says, hey, we've been trying to reach you about this business. We didn't get the NDA back. It sounds like you probably moved on. If we get past that, if they sign the NDA, we still get them on the phone. If we haven't got them on the phone, and we call it internally, we call it buyer screening, just a buyer conversation. That conversation is very, very important. One thing we do differently than some other offices is we talk to every single buyer. We know that the competitor could sign the NDA, that a broker could sign the NDA, and there's nothing wrong with that, but we want to know who's signing the NDA, who we're going to potentially release the book to, right? The business report. So we get them on the phone. If we haven't already, we ask just a few simple questions. What got you to inquire about this business? Where are you? We typically know where they are from their NDA response, but if we don't have that, where are you? If you're not in the market, when are you going to be in the market? Have you bought a house in the market? Right. So their questions trigger other questions, but what we're looking for, what we're listening for are you close? Are you in a position to buy? We won't ask them at this first question, how much money do you have? But we'll beat around the bush a little bit. I like to ask, what's your path to payment? That's an open question that will elicit a response such as, I've gotten pre-approved, or I didn't know I had to have money to buy a business, right? So I'm judging based on that response which path I go down. And a really important question I like to ask is, if they don't outright say it, is this the first business that you're buying? It's a whole different conversation with an experienced business buyer versus a first-time business buyer. Majority of people are first-time business buyers. So if they're an experienced buyer, it's going to be a different conversation. If they're a first-time buyer, that's totally okay, and we'll walk them through what to expect. We keep those calls short, and then we do release the book. We end those conversations by saying, thank you for signing the NDA. I will release the book. I want to hear, this will answer 90+% of your questions. I want to hear a red light, green light, yellow light. Is this the business for you? Is it not what you expected? You're going to move on? That's okay. Please close the loop. What questions do you have? That's my homework for the buyer. I'm going to share the book. You, Mr. Buyer, have to tell me if you like it or not, because I'm going to keep calling you if you don't tell me yes or no, right? So I give them the homework, give them the follow-up. Then we share the book with them. Important caveat. We didn't shake the tree for money at this stage. We have shared the book without knowing if they can consummate the deal. I used to not do it this way. I used to say, show me all your money before I should tell you what the business is. That sounds like it's great service for the client. It's not. It's really not, because what happens is they don't know if they want the business, so they're not motivated to sign the NDA and to get to that process, right? So we do make sure they understand confidentiality, and we will share the book, assuming that it makes sense. If they say, I'm a gazillionaire, I'm just going to throw some money at this small business in the Triangle market, and I'm never going to leave my foreign country. Well, unless you have a manager nearby, maybe not the best fit, right? This is not a passive business. More likely, that's an extreme example. More likely, it's I don't have any money. Will the seller finance 100%? Weird stuff like that. Maybe they don't need to get access to the book. But if they sound like a normal person, because we're talking to them, and they've signed the NDA, we will share the book with them. Then we call them 3 more times, right? Call, email, text, phone. We want to hear, yes, this is the business for me, or no, I'm going out. If I'm going out, if the buyer says they're going out, we want to know why, right? We don't accept just not the business for me. Why is it not the business for you? Because if every buyer says the same thing, then we need to talk with our client about what this recurring objection is. 3 more times we will touch the buyer after we've touched them up to 6 times. Are you getting the picture here? So 300 times we touch the buyer. The 3 times 50 times 2 is 100. That's 300 times just to get to the point where we release the book, and then for those 50 buyers, 3 more times, it's another 150. That's 450 times we could possibly touch a buyer group. Now, the reality is, a lot of times they get the book and they say, oh, I didn't realize where this was, and that doesn't work for me, and they go out. We don't have to call them again. But often we will call them again and again and again. So all of these buyer touches are just to find the leaders in the pack, right? Those, if it's a horse race, and people aren't horses, but if it's a horse race, who who's in the front, who's in the lead, who can we get to the finish line? All of that work is just to find out who's in the running. Once we get that, we get proof of funds. That's another thing that's super important. When they say, I want to meet with the owner, then we figure out, okay, show me the money. How are you going to pay for this business? Are you pre-qualified? Show me. We get through that piece. Then we spend a lot more time with the buyer. I hope what you're getting from this is it's time intensive to screen buyers, to find the right buyer, to find the buyer that makes sense. And you can't do it with a hammer or with a rake. You can't just filter them all. In my opinion, some brokers are able to do this with technology, but it's hard to use a rake and just say, nobody gets through this. I like to hear their voice. I like to understand what I call their station in life. What I love to hear is a story from a buyer like, I just sold my XYZ in Wisconsin, and I have family in Raleigh, North Carolina. I'm going to be there next month. I saw you have XYZ business listed. I know it's too hard to build it. I built my first one from scratch. I want to buy one this time. Yes, sir, Mr. Buyer. I can't wait to share the book with you. Thanks for signing the NDA. Let's have a conversation on the other side of you reviewing this book. That's where we want to get with buyer screening. I just don't think you can do that by automatically releasing a book. And a lot of brokers will do that. They'll say, I've heard brokers that say, sign the NDA, here's the tax returns. Let me know if you want to buy the business. That's another approach. We take a more hands-on approach. There's different ways to screen buyers, but we present the book, and that has extracts from the tax return, and then we want to tell the financial story that we think is true and most compelling for the owner of the business. And then in diligence, we get them the tax returns. But this is what I'm getting at, is when do you share information? When is the appropriate time to share information with a buyer? It's an art and it's a science. I'm interested, if you're thinking about getting into business brokerage, if you're a business owner and you have questions about screening buyers, maybe you're doing it yourself, I'm interested in your thoughts, your perspectives. Share them in the comments. If you have something specific to your deal, direct message me. Let's talk about that. Everything we do is confidential. So that's what I want to share with you today. Touching buyers. Neal Isaacs, the Raleigh business broker. Thanks for watching. Until next time, mahala.